Good afternoon, everybody out there in Viewerland, and welcome to the Monday edition of The Rundown. My name is Mike Worski. I will be your host today here on The Rundown, but I do not host the program by myself.
No, you do not. My name is Craig DeLuz, and I will be your co-host for today on this Manic Monday edition of The Rundown. Mike, do you know why it's so manic here in California?
Let's see. Did you guys have a wildfire and all the weed got burned up?
No.
No. No.
No. Actually, it is because tomorrow is election day or recall day
Oh, yeah.
for Governor Gavin Mussolini.
That's right. I forgot you guys got the party going on tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully we have the party go. Hopefully we have the party going on tomorrow. So, any of y'all out there in California or here in California, please make sure you vote. You get in your ballots. And those of you who are outside of California, I'm sure you probably got a ballot mailed to you. So go ahead, and make sure you get your ballots in as well.
Yes, 4 of them. I got 4 of them here in Florida. So. Vote early, vote often. That's how I like to vote. So,
well, I'll tell you something that's interesting. Literally, no one in my house has gotten a ballot, and we're an all Republican household. So we all have to now show up at the polls in order to be able to vote.
well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence, Craig. It sounds like your ballots were the ones that showed up in that guy with the drugs and the gun and passed out in his car with 300 ballots down in Los Angeles at a 7-Eleven gas station. That's probably where your ballots were.
That is probably exactly where my ballot wound up. But it is what it is, dude. I'm like, I will be making sure to vote. Every single one of us in our household will definitely be at the polls, making sure that our voice is heard. So once again, however you are listening to this, if you're listening to us on The Rundown, California Republican Assembly, one of our sponsors, largest, most aggressive and active grassroots Republican organization in the state of California. If you're listening to us on Arms Room Radio, hey, make sure you vote. Make sure you vote, and you vote to recall Gavin Mussolini.
That's right. Make sure you do it. Listen, if you're in California behind enemy lines, remember, the chair is against the wall. The chair
is against the wall.
John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. So you've received your secret messages. Now go vote.
Now go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Okay.
Go vote. Go vote.
Well, let's get into
beyond that, sir. How was your weekend?
You know what? It was an incredibly busy weekend. I wound up doing some unexpected work for a client. I wound up doing a lot of gardening and planting. Well, I didn't do much gardening and planting. I was the one that was basically moving a bunch of rocks and dirt and heavy stuff. And my wife did the planting, which,
yeah,
it is what it is. But it was, anyway, the yard. So got the yard looking nice. Had an event for my birthday thing for my father-in-law yesterday. He's 73 years old. So we had a bunch of Indian food last night. And needless to say, my stomach is thanking me today.
Oh, you got the mud butt?
Bubble guts.
Bubble guts. You got the mud butt. You got the bubble guts. All right. Well, sometimes it happens. That's what happens with Indian food. That's the risk. Right
It
there.
is, but it tastes so good going down. It really does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just gotta weigh the pros and cons, right? That's it.
There you go.
That's it.
That'd be how it be. So yeah. So no, it wasn't a relaxing weekend, but it was a fun weekend. How about yourself?
Was definitely not relaxing, but had a great weekend. I chose this weekend to celebrate commemorate is the proper word, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. I went to New York City. I went to the World Trade Center towers. I went to the where the monument stood. I went to where now Freedom Tower is. I did the New York in a Day thing. I went to the ceremony at the baseball game later that night between the Mets and the Yankees. Watched the game there as well. And by the way, did it all armed. Come at me, De Blasio. See if you can catch me now. I'm back in Florida. It was a good time. It was a good time. Went with a couple of friends from work, and we all from that area, and chose to honor the fallen up there in New York this past weekend.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like you had a phenomenal time.
It was great. I got to go to some of the old stomping grounds also, and even at one of my neighborhood liquid therapy establishments ran into some of the supporting cast from Sopranos. So we have had a better time than we expected to have. So
Nice.
shout out to those guys.
Nice. Well,
all those
I'm glad
guys.
you had a great time.
Yeah.
It was like, once again, it was a good weekend. Anyway, had a phenomenal time. Glad you had a phenomenal time. Let's get to the news.
Let's do it. Let's jump back now that I'm back in Florida. Let's jump into some Florida news, and this is not just Florida news. This seems to be national news every time these two go head to head. As we noted last week, and it's apparent that Sleepy Joe, that corn pop himself, is infatuated with Captain Florida, with Governor Ron DeSantis. The brief background on this: about 3 months ago, Ron DeSantis issued a law or executive order saying that there shall be no mask mandates at any of the schools, any of the post-secondary schools, the public education, the K through 12, that no school district can say we're having a mask mandate. Per the governor's order, that is the parents' choice. That is the parents' choice whether or not they send their children to school with the mask on. And then, by the way, even if the child decides, Mom said I'm going to, but now I'm not going to, the school cannot mandate that they mask because the parent said to. It is the individual's choice to do so. Well, a couple of the school boards said, we're not doing that. Governor said, you have to, or we take away your funding. That's when the president started sticking his nose in. Well, we'll send you extra funding. We'll bypass the state. Sure. That sounds like separation, doesn't it, Craig? That sounds like the 14th Amendment, right? States' rights and all that good stuff. So anyway, a couple of the school districts filed an appeal in Leon County, Florida, requesting an injunction be put in place that null and void the governor's order. They got that, and it lasted about a week and a half. The state of Florida and the governor filed an appeal to that liberal judge's decision with the First District Court of Appeals, and those judges. Craig, it's a one-paragraph reversal, and it's literally laughing at and chastising the Leon County Court for not including any factors of law whatsoever and going strictly on politics and emotion. Yet this district court had no problem coming out and saying, null and void, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should try looking at the law. You violated multiple standards, and
Right.
you know this is never going to have a chance in hell, and that's the only time an injunction should ever be put in place. So.
Right.
Bad on you. Governor's order back in full effect.
Well, exactly. Usually what an injunction means is a part of granting an injunction is that you have it's more likely than not that you're going to actually wind up winning the case. In this particular case, there was absolutely positively no way that they were going to win. Now, if this had been, for example, the Ninth Circuit, where you know that a 3-judge panel or even the full panel would probably uphold it, even though you know it's going to get to the Supreme Court and probably get overturned, they probably would have stood a chance. But what gets me is, and that you were so correct when you talked about what they talked about, is there was no basis in law for their decisions. And that's how the left sees the court, though. You don't have to have any basis in law when it comes to your rulings. It's just, what do you believe is right as a judge? And so that's what you do. You don't you don't base it on what the actual law is.
We'll say this again. Listen, that's why we have the separation of powers. That's why we have the executive branch, which enforces the laws, the presidential branch, and comes down through law enforcement, and they enforce the laws. You have the legislative branch, which creates the laws, your houses of Congress. And listen, that comes all the way down to your local city council,
Right.
by the way,
Right.
and your state house. And then judicial branch, which interprets those laws. Are they constitutional or not? And then here's the sentence when handed down. That's what they're for.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, like you said, those liberal judges want to take the legislative branch and turn it into take the judicial branch and turn it into
Right.
the legislative branch. They want to legislate from the bench. They want to ignore the rule of law and rule from the heart, because it's about the children, Craig. We have to save the children.
Well, exactly. And once again, while I understand what you're saying, but dude, that's not your job. If that's what you want to do, you need to get off the bench, and you need to leave the bench, and you need to go and run for the legislature.
Yeah, run for your local state house, whatever you want to do. Yeah, do it, get it done. So that's good there. Hats off to the First District Court of Appeals here in Florida. So let's see now. Now I'm sure once Corn Pop's done out there today in California, I'm sure he will have a statement to make against Governor DeSantis, and I'm sure Governor Abbott at some point as well, because he seems to think they're the same person. So, but that happens to a lot of people when they get his illness. So, all right, let's move right along here to some Florida COVID numbers. The Miami Herald, for those of you that have been around long enough or reading one of those newspapers, Miami Herald's kind of up there. It's not quite a New York Times or an LA Times, but the Miami Herald's a very, very old, recognized, well-standing newspaper. And for the majority of its existence, it was a rather conservative newspaper. In the last couple of years, just like everything else in the media, they've waned in between or stepped off onto the liberal rails. Well, the Miami Herald, they still do have a tendency to do a little research when it's time to do a little research. So they went out and did some research, Greg, and guess what they found out about certain COVID numbers being reported in Florida?
I don't know what they find.
They found that it's crap, as the Scottish would say. It's crap, that they're being overstated. The numbers right now are well within the norms, and that even during the past couple of weeks, months, when everything was supposed to be spiking at a high point, it was never really there anyway. And so, again, just more lies, coming out from the healthcare industry. Remember, this was also the place in Miami where they said 70 doctors and medical professionals walked out of the hospital, in refusal to work with anybody that was unvaccinated. That also ended up being not the truth as well. These were doctors, some from that hospital, some from the area, that showed up and to do a little protest outside. None of them walked off the job. It was just more, lies in media, grandstanding. So
but we know that's
going to get, folks.
Right, but we know that that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what the media does. Is they don't tell the entire truth because they have an agenda. And unfortunately, that agenda is not the agenda. Well, it's not the American agenda, shall we say? But they want us to do what they want us to do, and they're going to play with whatever the Democrats want them to do. That's exactly what they're going to do, and that's exactly what they're going to say. You and I have talked a lot about this, about in terms of looking at the numbers. And that's one of the things about, I don't look at like the immediate reporting of the numbers. I look at the numbers and the changing of the numbers over time, because eventually, even if you're falsifying numbers, you're only going to get away with it for so long.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Let's just hope that's not in an election, right? Because they know how to do that too. So it's going to come out. The one thing I do know, Craig, about those 70 doctors and medical personnel that were present, is that if there were 70 of them present, that it was not a Biden or a Hillary Clinton rally, because that's way too many.
No, because that's way too many people.
Way too many people. So it's the continuation of the lies. It's continuation of the bad numbers continue to come out, and this is where we tell you, folks. Craig and I tell you every time: go seek, go look at your own numbers. Those numbers for Florida have always been available. You can go to see the public websites. You can go look at CDC. The state of Florida will link them to you. And as long as the hospitals are reporting them or reporting them correctly, you'll see what we're talking about. But don't just look at today. Look at 2 years ago, before this started, and notice that the ICU bed rates were higher. Again, like we've talked about, ICU beds, especially in the earlier part of the day. Craig, did you know this? If you get an ICU report in the morning and an ICU report in the evening, they're going to be drastically different. Because what time do doctors schedule surgery for, Craig?
Oh, usually morning.
Yeah, 6:30 in the morning or something like that. So when you come out of surgery, it's 9:30, 10:30 in the morning, and you're in there until the afternoon report at 3 o'clock takes place. So as long as you're out of there after 3 or before 3, that's a different report. You're going to get 60% fill in the morning and 20% fill in the evening. So you've got to look at your stats.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the things that I noticed in this article, which they don't cover in many articles, was how many of those beds were occupied by COVID patients, right?
Correct.
So they talked about the ICU beds specifically, and they were just noting how many beds there were, how many beds were available, and how many were actually occupied by COVID patients. And those, by the way, those numbers have always been available. The media is just not reporting on any of them.
Correct. We're going to report what we want to report on.
Right.
If it's at 80% capacity, we're going to say 80% capacity. We're not going to say that more than half of those were from elective surgeries that people are coming back to the hospital for because the COVID rate has gone down in that area.
Right.
So they're more willing to let those elective surgeries go on again. So it's just lots of crap, and we know it. And now it's like you said, it's coming out in many avenues. All right, Craig, let's shift gears. Let's head up to a more dangerous part of the country. If you watch the news, if you happen to be anywhere near Florida, you're going to catch the COVID and you're going to die because of the governor. But let's go to actual place where people die daily in mass numbers because of the firearms violence that goes on there, because of the policies of the city of Chicago, even though the state laws have been turned and overturned concerning firearm ownership, firearm sales. It's like trying to sweep back the tide of gun violence in the city of Chicago. But don't worry, Craig, the mayor there, she's found a plan. She's figured a way out to get the gun violence to stop. And you know what, Craig, I'll let you take it.
Yes. So Mayor Lori Lightfoot has come up with a new.
Don't say her name, okay?
Whose name?
Once. Don't the mayor's name. If you say the name, you know what happens. You can't say that name 3 times.
Okay.
That's once,
I will.
Right?
I will not say.
Okay.
Lori Lightfoot 3 times.
Wait, no. Whoa, that's twice. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mess up? I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Let's get back to it. So,
right.
The mayor of Chicago.
There you go.
Has come up with a new and innovative way to end gun violence, and that is by, drum roll please, suing gang members. That's right. She's talking about taking them to court, into civil court. She's like, we're going to drag them out into the open by suing them and taking them to court over the amount of gun violence and the violence that they are perpetuating in our streets.
Brilliant. Brilliant. There we go. And we'll sue them for their what?
I have absolutely no idea, because it's like, what? So you're going to sue them and you're going to demand that they come to court. Now, mind you, they probably don't even show up to court when they have a criminal case against them. Why would they show up to court when they have a civil case against them?
You know what happens when they show up? Let's say they do show up for the civil case, because the mayor there, she has made it clear that she's not going to wait for the Cook County prosecutor's office to charge them with crimes or not charge them with crimes.
Right.
That the mayor is going to have the city attorney charge them or file civil lawsuits against them.
Yep.
So when she does this, the civil proceedings will be taking place before the criminal proceedings will be taking place. And as everybody knows, you cannot be made to testify against yourself. And because there's criminal charges or proceedings still pending, when they show up for the civil trial, this is what they get to do. Based on the Fifth Amendment, I'm not saying anything. Yeah, based on my right to preserve my own safety and freedoms, I'm not to, you can just hear them go off. Based on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, they're going to be like that. They're going to be like one.
Well, that's if they even bother. That's if they even bother to show up.
If they bother to show up. Otherwise, they're going to be doing the Dave Chappelle fifth gimmick. Fifth. If I have fifth. She doesn't even understand the rule of law and how it works. She's going to try and bring them up there and file suits civilly before the criminal action takes place. And there's no requirement for them to give any testimony. If there's a subpoena, Craig, they have to show. But, what are they worried about some misdemeanor failure to show civil warrant for?
Right.
They're not, just like you said. If they just, threw rounds at somebody and got an attempted murder charge going, I don't think they're worried about that misdemeanor charge. It's kind of like, do I worry about that misdemeanor charge for violating that gun-free zone instead of the murder that I wanted to commit there.
So okay, so this is either a media stunt, or is she really that stupid?
Listen, Lori Lightfoot is probably one of the dumbest people that.
Oh, you said it.
You said it.
See, now you go and you tell me not to say it, and then you say it.
I forgot we had to. You said it twice. I only said it once. So
come on, man.
There you go.
Look, she's looking at us very disapprovingly, sir. Oh, what are you looking at? Don't look at me like that.
Right there with you. She's. It's scary. It's scary.
All right. Goodbye. Goodbye.
She's not in the room here with me somewhere.
There we go. Beetlejuice. Okay, she's gone.
She goes away.
There she goes away.
Perfect. Goes away. Yeah, that's this is the stupid. Again, I think that we're starting off the week with a lot of stupid going on. You know,
yes.
Everybody had a good commemoration weekend of the fallen on Saturday, and then on Sunday they took a big dose of the stupid. So
right. Well, I think you have at least one more story that I think fits in that genre.
This one here, just how do they let this happen? First off, was this a sanctioned fight? Was what's UCF or UFC? Did Dana let this happen? Is this one of those publicity stunts where we're going to allow an MMA fight to occur with a woman and a transgender woman? A man, Craig, is what they're also known as. So allows an MMA. It's mixed martial arts, Craig, right? So how about mixed sex martial arts, right? So that's basically what you have here. It's a former military soldier who now goes by the name of Alana McLaughlin, and Alana goes and gets in the ring there with a woman, an actual woman, and chokes out this other woman during the second round of the match. My only one of my additional objections would be, dude, you're a man. Why did it take you till the second round? What were you doing? What was going on here? Not to start talking, think bad about the other woman in the ring, but what are we doing? Why are we letting this happen? Do we have to wait for this man to kill that woman? And I can listen again. There's plenty of strong women out there. It's amazing, but the physiological differences between men and women are such that the male muscle is tighter and denser than the female muscle. We know this. It's physiological different. It's like making a baby fight an adult. It's underdeveloped. It does not have the strength that it does. Are there women out there that have trained their whole life to get to that point? Of course there are. But now you have a man who's just saying I'm a woman, and he gets to compete with the women after they've trained their whole life, and this guy can just walk in there and do nonsense like this. You want to fight, buddy? Go fight Andy Kaufman. How about that? He's the women's intergender wrestling champion, or if anybody recalls that, however old you are. So,
well, one has to raise the question. Where are the women's rights activists? Where are the feminists at? Where are the people who are fighting to protect women's right to be able to compete fairly in sports? Once again, you don't even know what to make of it. It's all in the name of wokeness, and I'm like, my attitude is still like, look, you do what you want to do if that's what you want to do, if that's how if you believe that you are a woman in a man's body and you want to change physiologically and go through all of that yourself, that's fine. But once you start getting to the point where you are now impacting others, and we've seen it in competitive sports in high school where you had, in particular, like track is a great example. Yeah. I think it was in not Philadelphia. It was in Pennsylvania. You had like the number 1 and the number 2 state leaders in sprints were both female or male to female transgendered and were breaking records. And then you wonder, well, how could that possibly be? And they're talking about it like,
yeah. Just duh. I mean, how do you not figure this out?
Right.
This is one of those that is, somebody needs to be hit in the head with a stick. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the people there at MMA headquarters, the people in Miami that put on this event, or the transgender person themselves. thinking that this is okay. Yes. Am I supporting the use of violence against morons? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The smack to the back of the head always works. You know?
I don't know that this was a UFC fight, but it was commissioned by the Florida Boxing Commission. So I'm assuming if it were UFC, it would have been sanctioned by whomever, and they would have noted in the article that it was a UFC fight. So I don't believe that this was a UFC fight.
Okay, so if it's not UFC, we will excuse those from UFC, and Dana and everybody else. So hopefully you guys were not involved in this, but
right. And they required that. I guess the fighter had to do a bunch of testing. Had to do a bunch of testing, and the hormone levels had to be below a certain level. But I just think the whole argument that just hormones is not necessarily the only measure of unfairness. And you made great points relating to muscle density, bone density, and all of that makes a huge difference athletically.
It absolutely does. And again, I'm not trying to disparage any of the women out there in any jobs that men would traditionally do. Hey, if they can do the job and there's a standard set, get on it. Great for you. Great for all of us.
Right.
But certain times you just physiological differences are such that they can't be changed, and 50 pounds of one is different than 50 pounds of the other. It's not the same. So this is it's sad. It's sad to see. I feel sorry for the transgender guy also, who's now Alana. Thinking that, look at my accomplishments and what I've been able to accomplish now as a woman. Still a dude. That's all there is to it.
You haven't really accomplished anything except
I'll tell you what.
You beat up on a woman.
Here's a good idea, Craig. And you and I, we the Second Amendment community, where we are friends with and work with many of the transgender communities within the Second Amendment world. How about if you want to be a transgender woman and compete, you compete against other transgender women? The league would probably be a little bit smaller, but it would be fair at that point.
Right. Or compete in sports where that difference doesn't matter, like in shooting sports.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that is a great example. I mean, the firearm is the great equalizer.
Yeah, be a race car driver. How about that? Play golf. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Well, we all know that. By the way, the federal government or the Biden administration is now requiring larger employers with over 100 or more employees to require everyone to get vaccinated, right? Well, Mike came up with a solution that I think some.
Hold on, I think I know which one you're going to go with. You could go with it, but for the record, I want to say I sent you this parting shot, I sent you this picture as just a friendly laugh, ha ha.
Oh,
I realized you were going to use this one as the parting shot, so go ahead, but let's use it. We were
okay, so you weren't advocating for this policy.
You have laid the groundwork for the laugh, so let's go ahead.
Okay. Okay. No employers are going to be doing this, but I also saw a different meme where the guy said basically, yeah, I just fired 13 vaccinated employees, so now I'm down to 99.
Yep. Don't have to abide by them rules if you have less than 100. So yeah. This is when your 100th employee walks through the door.
I'm sorry.
That kid will not be putting out any vaccination standards amongst his employees.
Okay. So. Once again, let us be very clear. We are not advocating violence against the vaccinated or against the 100th employees. We are not encouraging violence against any of your employees. Please do not take it that way. We are not making the suggestion or stating that it is appropriate. Simply that it's a funny meme. That's it. That's all.
Anyway, now, if when the 100th walks in and you want to hit him in the face with a pie, that's different. You're like, you got the pie in the face.
Right. While we are not advocating for that, if you do it, just make sure you get it on video and send it to us.
There you go. That's it. I had to go home. We had the COVID pie variant. So.
Yes. Okay. Mikey, why don't you give a shout out to our sponsors before we head out today?
Let's say hello to our good friends at Guerrilla Machining and Grid Defense. Guerrilla Machining and Grid Defense have been with us for quite a long time. I will, again, meet with them during the middle of the week to find out what we will be giving away at this Freedback Friday coming up on 4 or 5 days from now, right? Which is coming up at the end of the week. It's Monday. That's going to be Friday. So it'll be here soon enough. Great shout out to them. Make sure you visit them and tell them the guys from the Rundown sent you.
Please tell them the guys from the Rundown. Their links to their websites are in the description to this video. Make sure you visit them. Make sure you make sure you give them a holler. Let them know we sent you. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's Rundown. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. We see you tomorrow on Taco Tuesday.
Hasta mañana.
Fabulous order.